The journey of Ekko is one of the most beautiful, emotive things I think I've ever seen in fiction. If you can't tell by how puffy my face is, yes, I've just finished watching Pretend Like It's the First Time again, in which I sobbed throughout. Again, it's a deep testament to the writing of Ekko's character that, considering the amount of time we spent with him in comparison to several of the other characters, particularly throughout season 1 and season 2, that this singular encapsulated story not only fully completes a character arc that has always been there, but also just delivers over and over and over again. Now, for full disclosure, before Arc 3 released, I did have an Ekko sort of conversation planned, and one of the things that I was going to talk about ended up occurring in the first 20 minutes of Pretend Like It's the First Time. When we talk about a lot of the characters in Arcane, especially the ones that I've done so far, right, we've talked a lot about their regrets, about the traumas that inform their core beliefs, their values. But I would probably say that when, I've ever gone looking for any kind of conversation on Ekko, one of the things I don't see a lot of conversation about is his own guilt and his own regret. I think this is the case with Ekko because in comparison to every other character, the scale of the action that he took that he has regret for is so minor in comparison. Nor was it weighted in any kind of great calculation, right? Powder wanted to save her family, and so she set off a massive explosion, right? Vi wanted to protect her family, so she moved to sacrifice herself, and then she decided to lead everyone into the cannery, right? All Ekko did was pass along a little bit of, gossip. I know a veritable ton of my followers are massive Life is Strange fans, so you should all be familiar with the phrase, a butterfly flaps its wings and a storm brews on the other side of the world. Ekko tells Vi about a strange man that comes into the shop who looks like he's loaded. Vi takes her family to go and rob the place, and an explosion goes off. That explosion gets Milo, Clagger, Vander, and Benzo killed. Vi disappears, and Powder gets taken in by Silco because of it. Jace stands trial before the council for his experiments, meets Victor, and the two of them invent Hextech together. All because Ekko gave a friend one silly little idea. It's also the reason that the first time we see Ekko as an adult, he is simply, furiously angry. Because he knows. He knows that he's the catalyst, and by the time we see him as an adult, what is that catalytic turned into? Jinx. The death of Powder and the rise of the sadistic psychopath that goes up against him, that's on him. Perhaps it's because of this minor scale of this single catalytic, but unlike some of the others, Ekko doesn't live in denial. He accepted his responsibility so many years ago, hence the anger. He used that anger to convince himself that Powder was truly gone and only Jinx remained. Until the bridge fight. One thing I have never seen talked about in the aftermath of what is widely considered one of the best single scenes in the entirety of Arcane in the bridge fight. Do you all notice how much nicer Ekko gets after that fight? Even while very injured, his first conversation with Heimerdinger is casual, friendly even. Counselor Heimerdinger, the symbol of Piltover. Literally the eternal face of the oppression of his people. He didn't even trust Vi the first time he saw her after 7 years, and yet now he's instantly comfortable with the face of Piltover. Even when he finds out that Jace ignorantly placed the power base of the Hex Gates at a place that intersected with all of the foundational utilities for the Undercity, he doesn't react with anger. He's just like, well, that explains it, right? Seeing the face of Powder, not Jinx, but Powder during the fight on the bridge, Ekko realized that not only had he maybe given up a little too soon on her, but that she wasn't dead and that he wasn't at fault. Now, mind you, that only sort of resolved his anger. It did not resolve his regret, and that leads us to Otherworlds and the Z-Drive. You all seen Galaxy Quest? Remember how the big thing in Galaxy Quest is the Omega-13? A time-traveling device that sends you back 13 seconds in time, and they say, not really enough to undo much, but just enough to undo a mistake. A single, small mistake, just within 4 seconds, is the Z-Drive. It is the pitch-perfect story to give Ekko, a character with a minor time travel ability, the guilt of a single small regret. And this brings us to one of the most beautiful concepts at the core of Ekko's character. Ekko sees another world in which the outcome of his very small, simple action ends up in a massively different route in which people have their own pain and their own brokenness, just like in his own. And if you put other Arcane characters in this same situation, their guilt would consume them. Vi and Jinx would probably see it as confirmation that they bring destruction to everything around them. But Ekko has the gift of self-honesty. He doesn't have to berate himself constantly for how he knows he failed. So when he sees other people caught in their own pasts, unable to move forward, Ekko has always been seized with a desire to help them. Even if he's a bit like Gruff about trying to convince Vi that Powder's gone, he's doing it because he's afraid for her. He's more aware than anyone that a guilt like that could be self-consuming. And so when he sees a Powder who's lost Vi, who doesn't move forward with her own life and holds herself back, what else could Ekko do? There's a lot of practical reasons that involving Powder was the right thing to do for their rebuilding magic, but there's also one really good one that isn't. Ekko wanted her to see her potential, to see that she could change the world, to see herself as Ekko always saw her. And that made the Z Drive, which is a tool that let Ekko do the one thing that he knew he wanted to do more than anything else, is to tell the Powder of his world the same thing.